So what we've done already, right? We've done some meaningful elections protections and investments that we also can celebrate. Um, However, the honest question is whether they're enough for the particular federal pressure that we're now facing. That's the question. In our 2026-2028 budget, we funded the people and the systems that run elections. So we're providing the Department of Elections with about over 38 million in the fiscal 2027 and about 33 million in 2028. That includes 12 million each year to compensate for the support of local registrars and electoral boards and the people who are actually carrying out elections in our community. We are also, for your good knowledge, and all of this, if you go to, what's the website? And give you budget line items and everything. If you go to budget.lis.virginia.gov, LIS stands for Legislative Information System. If you just go to lis.gov, I'm gonna put this in the chat, you can get to the state budget. It's an interesting read. You're not going to be able to read everything, but we are investing in our voter registration technology. So the budget, we provided, I think, about 15 million, over 15 million. Next year and the year after, about 11 million for statewide voter registration system and related technology. So we're trying to update that technology. It's also continues using that federal Help America Voter Act. That's that funding and state matching money to place the Virginia election and registration information known as, to replace VERIS. So when you hear them say VERIS, it's the Virginia Election and Registration and Administration Information System. So we're doing that. We're also replacing, that's 8 o'clock, it's telling me get going. We're also replacing that aging campaign finance technology, right? So the budget included about 3 million to begin replacing Virginia Committee electronic tracking and campaign finance management system. It's old, y'all. It's not like ballot security, but it's that transparency around who's funding politics is also a part of election security access, secure and access. And this is this budget, we put money behind voting rights and list maintenance. So that the budget that we just approved includes funding to implement and strengthen the Virginia Voting Rights Act that we talked about earlier, and more than $400,000 over the biennium, over the 2 years, for new voter list maintenance framework. So we're looking at how we do better. I'm just going to keep underscoring that I can take you this morning. Great. Underscoring that the Virginia Voting Rights Act is stronger in 2026. It prohibits voting rules or practices that suppress the vote of protected communities. It adds protections against vote dilution. It lowers that threshold for requiring translated election materials, so that translation, and directs courts to interpret election laws in favor of protecting eligible voters' ability to cast and have their ballots counted. We have a paper trail, y'all. Like, we're doing the work. Since July of 2020, localities, they cannot use direct records electronic machines. I've talked about this, right? That law prohibits that wireless communication between voter machines and outside equipment while polls are open, right? We've done so much, and I've said that. Protecting against threatening folks, said all these things. This is good news, So Virginia is built a sturdy front door, right? If we're talking about housing, because I'll get back to David's comment, like, we've built a sturdy front door, right? Paper trails, public audits, protections for voters, felony penalties, But when it comes to the federal, when the federal government starts, shaking a knob, right, threatening to kick the door in, we got to make sure we also have a deadbolt. So, right, we are not starting from zero. Virginia has done some good work. The bones are fan-freaking-tastic. But I don't want to ignore the leaky roof as we talk about housing right now, because I hear the water. I don't know if you hear the rain. And I'll talk about some of the other ones. Let me go to your comments. Thank you for putting this in here. The budget, if you want to look at the budget, some of the things we put in there. David says, good news, tons of it in Virginia. New road to the Federal Housing Act, to the Housing Act at the federal level, coupled with Virginia recently manufactured home or ADUs regulation rollback. It is great stuff for affordable housing. Heck yeah, we're doing that. Virginia's doing that. I know y'all read the headlines and you're not holding on to it. Like, we are doing that. We are doing that good work. Not only are we doing that good work with housing, as David said, like, we have invested in our children in our public schools. That budget includes 2 million. I know, baby. 2 billion with a B, in public education funding, 4% raises for our teachers and our schools and support staff, 577 million for child care and early childhood education, and nearly 350 million for higher education, including money to hold tuition down, to expand financial aid and support Virginia's historically Black colleges and universities, right? We have these things for a reason. These things have created. We also created, hear me out on this, right? Virginia also created the Employee Child Care Assistant Program. It allows public dollars to match employer contribution towards employees' child care costs, with an emphasis on encouraging small businesses to participate, right? I think that was Adele. I don't want to miss Adele McClure, I think, brought that one forth. We are also protecting healthcare while Washington is cutting it. Our budget included $150 million in Affordable Care Act premium assistance, $350 million in Medicaid Reserve Fund, and $225 million federal contingency fund to help Virginia preserve healthcare and these other assistance services while the federal government keeps making that funding disappear, right? Good shit. I mean, good stuff, y'all. Virginia has capped, what did they do? What did we do? We also sort of capped insured patients out of pocket for insulin, and we covered diabetes equipment and the covered diabetes associated equipment and supplies. We capped that to $35 per 30-day supply, right? We made the work a little bit more humane, right? We are trying to make government humane. We created the statewide paid family medical leave. Shout out to Delegate Sewell who did that. So once fully implemented, eligible workers are going to be able to receive up to 12 weeks of paid leave, generally replacing 80% of their average wage. That's set to begin December of 2028. We expanded paid sick leave protections, y'all. So workers that are accruing at least 1 hour every 30 hours their work, generally up to 40 hours annually, a week annually, so a work week. There's additional notice and record keeping and enforcement that will take effect July next year. Minimum wage is expected to go up, right? For $13.75 in 2027, $15 in 2028, followed by some annual inflation adjustments. Here's the deal. The federal minimum wage is still $7.25 freaking cents, right? Federal is. You know, employees, what we're hoping will have to include good employers will have to include good faith salary ranges when they doing these job postings and are prohibited now from using your salary history to determine how much you get to earn next. Right? That's what we're doing. To David's point, right? To David's point, we put serious money into housing stability. We deposited 127 million, and it's not enough, but it's a big chunk. 127 thereabouts million this year, and then next year, next fiscal year, 2028 fiscal year, 87 million in the Virginia Housing Trust. It supports that rapid rehousing, homelessness prevention, eviction diversion programs, including some dedicated attention to veterans that are experiencing homelessness. This is in the budget. And on July 1st next year, every Virginia locality, not just a selected handful, y'all, listen to this. Every Virginia locality will have the authority, as David just said, to establish an affordable dwelling unit program through their zoning ordinance, ADUs. We are giving these participating localities your backyard. This is why knowing the powers of your local government matters. Knowing that the state gives those powers matters even more. We will be giving every participating locality will have tools to protect publicly supported affordable housing, including advance notice before affordability restrictions expire, and the opportunity for that locality to require the locality or their designated qualified designee to purchase and preserve the property. Right? We're making big business contribute more, right? This is where we've been seeing the fights in the news, but y'all don't get too caught up in those fights, because our budget that we just passed established the first of its kind energy consumption tax for data centers, right? Protected, protected it's protected. I'm not saying protected. We're supposed to, what's the word I'm looking for? Projected. Projected to generate, I love this, right? Projected to generate approximately 600 million annually. That also includes a $25 million for energy efficiency and weatherization programs. And RGGI, our regional gas house emission initiative credits that are intended to help residential and small business utility customers. My phone bill, my electric bill was almost $500 this month, right? So it's worth saying plainly, if industry is going to consume extraordinary amounts of our energy and our infrastructure, it should make extraordinary contributions to the Commonwealth carrying that load. Okay? Y'all need to have this on your tongue, right? We are protecting personal freedoms. We enacted that statutory right to obtain contraception, birth control pills, you implant, all kinds of stuff. We're making the government easier to use. The Department of Taxation, which you don't hear us talk about much, we authorized the Department of Taxation to establish a free individual tax filing program, right? Because the federal government is like, we're getting rid of the free tax filing, we authorize our taxation system, our Department of Taxation, to do a free individualized tax filing program. It funds the budget has funding for a Virginia digital service team that is intended to help agencies fix outdated systems and make these public services easier for you, the people, to access. So when you get out there and you hear people talking about where Virginia still needs to move, we have to also tell the truth about where we did move. We put historic money into public schools. We gave teachers and school support staff and raises. We invested in childcare, financial aid, HBCUs, housing, healthcare. We're keeping people in their homes, capping the price of insulin, created paid family medical leave, expanded, you hear me? Expanded paid sick leave. We put Virginia on the road to a $15 minimum wage. We are protecting contraception. We are holding data centers are possible. Holding data centers. Oh God, sorry. Responsible. We told them that if you're gonna pull heavily from Virginia grid, they're gonna have to carry some of that load. Is it perfect? No, but we also don't want to prevent businesses from coming here. That doesn't mean that the work we had to hold in hands both because we don't want people to not come here. That doesn't mean that our work is finished right now. That means it's working, and that we are not. What's the word? We are not protecting democracy merely so that people can cast a ballot. That's not the only thing that we're doing. We are protecting democracy so that the ballot can produce schools, healthcare, housing, dignity, and a government that actually works for the people. So that is why elections matter, right? That is why this is so important, why I need you guys to get in it, to be in it, and to do the work, right? Yep.